take up leadership that shows I'm publicly committed to the relational work of systems change in 4 different ways. The first is the personal. So since understanding systems change work, I have committed to a personal reflective practice where I think about my ancestry and the positionality that gives me, and more importantly, the inherent power, the unearned power that provides me. And I think about how I can use my power differently. And I talk about that with other people. So I try to bring my personal reflections and learning into the public domain. I also spend time learning about how systems cause harm and what it would take for systems to stop causing harm and start to become systems based on healing and systems of care. And I seek to do that learning with others. So I try to do some of my learning publicly. And the last thing is that I have learnt over the last couple of years that it's different experiences that shift my mindset. So I seek out different experiences that challenge the way I see the world. And again, I try to do that publicly.
My community was designed for people like me to succeed. I'm white, male, heterosexual, middle class, able-bodied, university educated and citizen of a developed nation. Historical and structural factors beyond my control have positioned me to be in the powerful, dominant group. And while I may not have the ability to change these aspects of who I am, I do have the ability to reflect deeply on them, to own them, and to use this knowledge to learn how I tick and how I can best support effective change. What assumptions do I have that I think are the norm? What behaviours do I display that limit others? I now believe this internal work is critical to my effectiveness in fostering wider systems change. This hasn't just been an intellectual exercise. It hasn't impacted on the core of my being. At times it's been isolated and highly confusing. It's also been enriching, and I think I'm more present and more grounded as a result. As a member of the dominant culture, I'm really interested in what keeps people like me stuck in our positions and lifestyles, even when we know intellectually of the damage this lifestyle is causing to other people and the environment. I have a hunch that the part of me that fears change is linked to my history, linked to intergenerational trauma. My kinfolk were not always in the powerful group. My ancestors fled Scotland, Cornwall, Ireland and England to escape the oppression of the 1800s. The British colonies, of which New Zealand was one, offered a new beginning and escape. Then came the years of wars and depression, of which there were many. To survive, my ancestors developed strong protective parts, and while these were essential back then, now, with my relative affluence, these protective parts limit my openness to change. I believe the impact of trauma and suffering back then still hides beneath the surface now. The promise of happiness, promoted by consumerism and all the other modern addictions, helped protect us from this pain. The ability of people like me in the dominant culture to address and heal from the trauma will, I believe, be vital to enable healthy and balanced systems to grow that nurture people and planet.
So professionally, my work is focused on the inclusion of voices of those individuals who are not often included in conversations. And this means that as a group, we have to collectively show up differently, that we have to listen more authentically in order to really learn about what different perspectives there are in the room. And in doing that, what helps us is that we uncover the complexity of the problem that we're trying to solve together, the work that we're trying to do together. And what it also does is it helps us kind of understand that there are pathways and that there are solutions that come out of that complexity. And so we have to leave our egos at the door, but really it is a very worthwhile way of working. We at Tamarack often start with the question, why is it important that you're here today? And I think that that's a really pivotal question, particularly in the relational work of systems change. The second thing is that Tamarack as an organization is engaged in a whole of organization approach around equity and indigenization. And what this means is that we're looking at ourselves critically, we're working towards identifying the systems that are perpetuating inequality, and we're really trying as a whole organization to engage in practice that really dismantles these systems. And so that commitment, that whole of organization commitment really helps us understand the different perspectives of our team, of our board, of our partners, and then really try to reflect on, what it is we can do, the systems that we can shift and shape, and the ways that we can transform ourselves. And then finally, I often spend time in reflection, in reflective practice. I think about how I'm showing up to places. Why are things not sitting with me well? What I might do differently as a result, what integrity I bring to my work. And, can I fulfill the commitments that I've made? Can I trust this process? Can I authentically engage? So those are some practices that we use at Tamarack and that I use personally. Thanks so much.